So excited to have Dennis Strand here. Welcome to our golf tournament,
Hi,
buddy.
Jamie.
The third annual. And you are a huge part of the parent company that owns A5, and your time is focused on the club side. Tell me, for the viewers, tell me about LOVB and the umbrella that is that A5 exists under.
Yeah, League One Volleyball. We started, it's probably 6 years now. And it was started as a complete concept. We did study the marketplace from a perspective of what can make it successful, a professional women's volleyball league here in the United States. And as we were kind of studying that, we determined that we needed something other than what was done before, just creating a league without building a community. And so the whole concept of a community was really, really important. And as part of that community and ecosystem, so we had youth and pro. So it's kind of a nice combination. It's been working out quite well. That the strategy that we created initially is really kind of unfolding as we speak.
So interesting. One of my partners that it's going to be on my team today, Kenny Custer, he is the direct report to Bob Martinez, who owns the Red Wolves here in town. And when you go to their program, right, because they're a pro soccer program, they'll take him at 3, and they can go all the way up the line to the point where you're playing on the big court with the big kids, you know, and you're getting a paycheck. And that's literally like the vertical chain that you guys have created to as a feeder program, but for development. I mean, you guys are giving back to the community. You're building young women. I think this is great.
Yeah, it's we call it volleyball for life, right? You start very young and you go all the way through adults. I mean, we're getting the programming for adults now. And in Boston, one of our clubs is getting into the real youth. I mean, the kids that are, you know, anywhere from 3 to 5 years old, just to get them to understand the feel of volleyball, to get them to understand, because they get introduced to soccer very early, but they don't get introduced to volleyball until high school. So we're trying to start these programs to kind of get it earlier in life and all the way through the adult side as well.
Make it part of the culture, the fabric.
Yeah, and you know, you talk about women and creating just an ecosystem for it. This is a wonderful sport for women, right? In all the things, to be a better person. You know, they define themselves, and just their character is defined in a whole different way. They become better people. And this is the only sport that's dominated by women. And it's 90% women, 10% men, and it's the only sport that's that way. So we find, you know, when we were looking at all the statistics early on, and knowing that there is no professional league here in the United States, but there was 40 of those in Europe and Asia. And the young ladies, you know, there's 500 or so of the young ladies that if they wanted to play professionally had to go overseas at the prime of their lives, right?
Oh, let's keep them here.
Yeah, leaving their families, their loved ones, and their significant others. And so that's why when we came to the decision to launch, it was something to keep those 500 women here in the United States to play the game that they love.
So we started off with A5 and 12s. Again, this is our third year, and it's really, really getting fun now because they're at this developmental phase where they're using the more sophisticated defenses, techniques that come with volleyball. And I'm all in. Last night I got to see my daughter. She sat next to Sophie, and at dinner, and just looked up and was taking it all in. Eyes were as big as volleyballs, and I asked Sophie, I was like, well, how on the pro team in Atlanta, like, how old was the oldest player? And she's like, gosh, I think she was 43 or 42, and she had 4 kids. Yeah. But she was such an athlete, and that she was able to stay in the game for so long. So like, you can start down at whatever 3 or 4 and go all the way into your 40s, and like you said, it literally is volleyball for life.
Oh, exactly. And when I'm not a volleyball person myself. I mean, I have 3 daughters that range from 28 to 33, but they never played volleyball, right? But you know, I love giving opportunities to females in particular. So that's what really drove me. And so I've learned a lot about volleyball because, and from an A5 perspective, that was one of our first clubs that we brought into our community, and I actually helped run that club for a couple of years. So I learned a little bit about the business of volleyball, and in that the young ladies that are in that sport, they can really learn so many things. They can come into the sport, early on. They can go to college, get scholarships, and if they don't go into professional, they can always come back into the core part of the business anywhere around the country now via Love, and be coaches.
Coaches.
They can become directors. They can go into our marketing organization. It's really, it gives a lot of opportunities for these young ladies in the cycle of their careers.
So what I like about what I've seen, I was just telling Nancy, I bought into the leadership. I bought into the process. There's multiple practices. There's multiple coaches. It's predominantly female coaches, which I love. And as a hair salon owner and a med spa owner, it's like my life is 99% female, and so it's very easy for me to acclimate to a league that is focused on the development and the growth of women, because I've got 2 daughters, But the other things that because of the resources that A5 or LOVB has provided to A5, we have like live data tracking. Right, we have exposure to the ball time. We have the statistics so that we can show the kids. Like I'm coaching my kid on KPIs, and I'm not talking about her English grade, her math grade, or anything. I'm like, no, like your serve receive. Like you got your passes. You only had 2 threes, babe. You know what I mean? There's some 1s and 2s in here. Well, Dad was diving for the ball, Dad. You know what I mean? And so, but that's fun for me. I'm a competitor, but like the analytics are there. And as a small business owner, we coach the KPIs, we coach the analytics, and you guys are doing that. And last year she was in 8th grade. And so that's such an impressive competitive edge that you guys, because of the resources.
Yeah, and that's where I spent a lot of my time on the club side of the business. We have the pro and the club. I spend 95% plus of my time on the club side, and when I say it's not like an acquisition, we call it becoming part of our community, right? And now I'm shifting over into the real estate side, because what we want is a home for every one of our clubs. A home where they, all the players and all the parents can come to one location.
We need a base.
And that's their base, right? It's all 4 walls is contained to provide the right kind of tools and the capabilities for them to enjoy the space and the sport. And that's my goal, is to get a home for every one of our clubs. And a home is like, it's about safety. It's having the right flooring. It's the right lighting, the right noise levels. I mean, it's like we want a world-class experience. That's a love experience for our players across the country.
Well, in Chattanooga, we're definitely looking forward to that.
I know. I'm really anxious. I know that there's some developments underway, and our goal is to work with some people that are maybe building some facilities around here that we can do something in a long-term relationship with.
Well, I've heard some whispers, but I'm excited about what the future holds, and I hope it happens while we've got a couple of years left. So awesome. I want to ask you one more question. There's a few pro leagues. So we've got LOVB, there's PVF and AU. As far as leagues are concerned, is there a consolidation going on right now? Like if you had to forecast out, 5 or 10 years in terms of what professional volleyball looks like for the consumer. I mean, I know that A5 and the club will always be, part of whatever LOVB's mission is. But what do you see for like major league sports and how the United States is going to embrace that, and like kind of what it looks like? And I guess comparing it to the NFL, you've got some major teams in some major cities. Can we reach that kind of growth and that kind of popularity?
Yeah, I would say a couple of things. AU is somebody that we work very closely with as it relates to schedules for the pro players, and we coordinate things so that we can synchronize and maximize the time for the players that are here in the U.S. So that's a very, very encouraging and very positive relationship that we coexist together. And there's the other league, is PVF, and they just announced the merger with Major Leagues Volleyball. And that was actually, Major League Volleyball actually spun off from PVF like last year. There was one particular team in Nebraska. So they're kind of coming back together again. And, for not having, any kind of professional leagues in the United States, it's okay. From our perspective, we want to provide the best product on the floor, meaning the best athletes and the best facilities to them, make the game really great. And we'll see. I think over time you'll probably see Could there be a joining together in the future? Who knows? It's too hard to predict. It's a lot of hard work, I can tell you, putting together a professional league and making them sustainable. But at the end of the day, we need success. We need to bring this, the league and the professional structure to be very, very successful in the United States and give those girls that path to be pros here in the U.S.
Well, we're fortunate to have you at the helm, and I so appreciate your time today, Dennis. We're gonna have a really good tournament. Hope you play well. And
I'm looking forward to it.
I'll see you on the course. Thank you, buddy.
Thank you very
Thanks
much.
for coming in.
Thank you for all your support too.
Yes, sir.